Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a good day. So my name is Robin Kandia, and I'll be taking you through today's demo. I work with Hi-CAD Africa as an AEC technical support specialist. So at Hi-CAD, we offer basically design, visualization, drafting services to both students and professionals. And we are also authorized Autodesk resellers. Also deal with Trimble, SketchUp, and Tekla products. And so today's demo will be on Dynamo and Dynamo Player for automation of repetitive tasks. So I don't know how many people are familiar with Dynamo as a software. It's included in Revit, and you also have the standalone version, which is Dynamo Studio. With Dynamo, it's a software that enables you to automate repetitive tasks, as the title says. So you can do a couple of things from using simple logic. So it's a visual programming language, which just uses inputs and outputs to perform specific tasks. So from simple things like structuring sheets in your Revit project to doing complex modeling, you can achieve a lot with it. So throughout, just a second. Okay, so you can be able to identify complex industry design problems, and you can iterate and analyze multiple design options rapidly using it. So within Dynamo, there's a package called Project Fractal. So from previous versions of Dynamo, previous releases from Dynamo 2.2 and below, you had an option of using Project Fractal, but now it's included in the Revit 2021 as a tab. So there's a generative design tab. So users who are using the AEC collection are the ones who will be able to use this functionality for Revit. So with this functionality, you're able to come up with different design options. So let's say someone wants to do from simple logic. Let's say you have some tables arranged in a room, and you just want to have the maximum lighting of each table. You can do that. So simple iterations you can perform with it. So I'll be taking you through some of the examples that are possible with this software. So with this one, it's basically process whereby you can calculate the flow area ratio. So it's a study. It's a flow area ratio study. So here we are looking at a conceptual mass from a computational design study in Dynamo. This conceptual mass is made in Revit, the Revit environment, using the generate option in Refinery. So again, for previous versions, Refinery was just a plugin within Dynamo, but now it's included within Revit as a generative design platform where you can, as you can see, come up with different design options, calculate some area ratios, and so much. You can also do sun studies using Dynamo. So it's really vast. So you can also maximize the total square footage in a facade, and minimize the number of floors and flow variants. So as you can see, you're also able to adjust the population size for generations of multiple objects optimization. So yeah, quite a number of things that you can do with this. So this is just a video overview of how it's supposed to be used. So for guys who want to explore this, it's included in the AEC collection in Revit. For student versions and the rest, like if you have Revit standalone, you can access it in the Dynamo environment. So still, it's not that it's limited. You can still access these nodes in the Dynamo environment. I'll show you. I'll open the new Dynamo release, which is Dynamo 2.5, which is included, which has those nodes already installed. So I'll just go quickly to the other slide. So quite a number of things that you can do. There's for this example, it's just a residential tower optimization study. So various sections of the graph control big picture elements such as tower height and floor quantities. You can also be able to control the building shell geometry, the floor plate creation, and facade section creation, the facade section tessellation, using the same platform. Within Revit or Dynamo. Again, if you're using Revit standalone, you'll have to access all these platforms using the generative design plugins that are within Dynamo. We actually call them packages. You can see you have kind of narrowing down the different options that you have. So you can maximize or minimize population size depending on what you want to achieve with your model. And it's interactive. Once you make any change, you can be able to see in the model that it's changing with whichever change that you made. So it has multiple studies that you'll be able to analyze and come up with better results. So you can even maximize the window size, the balcony size, all that. You can either maximize, minimize, and once you have this, at least you can do energy analysis simulations using another platform. So here you can see that it's playing around with the windows, window base sizes and everything. So you're not limited to whichever thing you want to do. We can do quite a number of things with it. So another thing that it does, it's curtain wall system optimization. So for this example, you're able to create a surface and panel fabrication. So you can be able to check for panel fabrication readiness. You can do quite a number of vertical grid lines. You can add a number of horizontal grid lines. You can also identify different goals you can add maximum height, width, surface. So all these objects are parametric. That's a cool thing because you won't have to, you don't have to create something and then you go back and start creating it once you don't like it. So you can just, with a few nodes, Dynamo nodes, you can come up with different design options, choose with whatever standard that you want and go with that. It's up to date. At least you won't take a long time to make these decisions. So these examples are for guys who are doing architecture. So Dynamo is not limited to your field. So you can quite achieve a lot with it. So we have other examples for engineering studies. So here it's a catenary shell optimization. So the graph basically generates a catenary shell in Dynamo with Dynashape. So Dynashape, it's another package. It's not included within Dynamo, but you can install it as an add-on within the Dynamo environment. So this it basically evaluates the rectangularity and planarity of generated quads based on the position of the anchor points on the ground. So the input parameters for the base point locations are driven by refinery. So as you can see here is using refinery to define all these inputs. But again, if you're using Revit 2021, which is in the AC collection, you can still bake this information using the generative design tool, which is within Revit. So don't be intimidated with the user interface. Once you understand the logic, it's quite easy. It's made for both beginners who are not into programming and also programmers. So another example is this torus. It's basically the graph does dynamo optimization for conceptual structural steel designs. This is a diagrid structure for the mass torus concert arena. So you can do some research on that. It's the optimization. The optimization in this study is based on waste percentage, structure weight, and total cost of the structure, including the influence of tools such as connections, beams, and cuts. So even the structural engineers, they are not left behind. So they can at least utilize this for those complex design alternatives that they want to do. So refinery is used to drive 3 input parameters and to find the best solution for every generation. So basically take advantage of this method so that it can do your design optimization in basically less than 8 minutes or so. So with less than 80 minutes, you can get around 1,600 runs of the same. So you can do quite a number of designs using these tools. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and basically try to come up with some logic, play around with it so that you guys can get a feel of the software. So just a second, let me share my screen for another environment. Okay. So here I have a model. It's a project. It's a sample project which was done on Revit. So in this example, you can see that if I orbit around, so Dynamo is for those guys who are kind of familiar with Revit. So I won't start from scratch like everything how I generated this geometry. So I'll just go ahead and try to play around with it. So you can see here, we don't have a roof. So I'd like to place some shelf roof structure above this project. So what I'll do first things first, I'll move over to my family's palette. So I already loaded a family for a roof. So I can simply drag my mass there. So don't want to save it right now. So let me just go ahead and do that. So now this is what I have currently. So do you want to continue? Yes. So I already have my roof on top of my model. So now what I'd want to do is, first things first, I'd want to open my Dynamo environment in order to play around with the geometry of the roof, and to also add some quads on it. So it normally takes some time to load, but during that time you can do something else. So it depends with your machine. Okay. I'm being told there's some delay with the screen sharing process, so bear with me. It will take some time to load. So now, once you're done, the Dynamo environment will open. So with Dynamo, the first thing that you'll be able to see is that on the top hand side, left hand side, you have so it's a simple software. So you have the file tab where you can open new and existing projects. You have the edit you can do and redo. You can also create custom nodes. So for Dynamo now, you have two environments. So this is the scripting environment. Sorry, this is the scripting environment, what you have here. This other one is the 3D environment. So this is where you'll be able to see what you're doing, what you're working on. So it's simple logic. So for example, if I just want to create a simple line, so I'll just say point. You'd want 2 points in order for you to create 2 lines, 1 line. So I'll simply do that. Then I can add an integer slider. So I can add an integer in order to get these points. So let's say I want it to move along the z-axis, and I can simply pull it up and down, and you can be able to see that. And once you have that, you can just look for a line and attach this line to your 2 points. So as I said, it uses simple logic. So with lines, with points, you have a line. With lines, you have surfaces. With surfaces, you have solids. So I'll go straight away and try to manipulate my model. So with this one, now what I'd like to do is select my object from the Revit environment. So I'll just type in select. Now what do I want to select? I want to select a model. So I want to select a model element, and I'll simply click on select, minimize this tab, and move over to the Revit environment and select whichever object that I want to select. So you can see already it's selected on the Revit environment. So once I have that, I have another challenge. So with Dynamo, it doesn't read Revit geometries directly. So you have to look for a node that does this, that interprets Revit geometry into the Dynamo environment. So I'll have to look for node which is element. This type of a node is a face, so element faces. So I'll simply click on it and zoom to fit. So there is my Revit geometry. So you can see that it's already selected into my Dynamo environment. So you can see that here it's having some curve. Same thing with the Dynamo environment. So what I'd like to do next is simple thing. Add, there's a package called Lunchbox. So there's Lunchbox machine learning. So if you want to do machine learning with the Dynamo environment, there's also this one here, which enables you to split your Revit faces into different patterns. So I'd want to use a quad. So I can say quad, Lunchbox quad grid by face. And this one, so this one is a custom node. If I double click on it, you'll be able to see it has this other environment. So you can add some Python scripts into your into these nodes. So these are already pre-made nodes. So you have different authors that make these Dynamo packages. So I can just, so here it's asking for a face, so I can say select face. Then with this one, sorry, let me just remove this one here. I can add an integer slider. I need two of them. So one to specify my U grid, another one to specify my V grid. And give it some time. So this one, I'd like it to be 5. This other one, 10, let's say. So you can always make some changes on it. So you can see that my roof is already splitted into different sections that you can easily manipulate to in whichever way you'd want. So with this one, it's quite simple to manage. So now what I want to do next is this quad grid by face, it's only on to projecting on one side. So I'd want to translate it onto a different face. So I can use translate. So geometry translate, I have different options. So there's X transition, Y transition. I don't want that one. So I can take translate direction, geometry by direction. So what do I want to do? I want to take the geometry translate for my element faces. If you get confused at times, you can move your cursor over to Dynamo node so that you can tell what it wants. So like this one, it wants a vector. So it basically wants me to tell it which direction do I want to move my points to, my surface to. So I want it to move with the Z direction. So I can simply take the Z direction, place it there, and you can also specify the distance. So there's something called a code block. So if you double click on a Revit, on a Dynamo environment, this will appear. So you can be able to type in whichever distance you want it to be with. So say 0.25. And I simply click to that side. So you can be able to see as I make any change in the Dynamo environment, these changes will be reflecting on also the Revit environment. So you can see I can maneuver around just to take a look at some of the changes that I've made. So next thing, I'd also want to create, take a copy of this. So copy is similar thing with Revit. You can just control drag a copy of it out of it. So this is not a training, it's just an overview of how things are made. So if you're new to Dynamo, you would really get a hold of everything, of how everything is being done. But if you're experienced with it, you can at least know what's going on. So with this one, I'd like to also attach this surface here. So give it some time. So now you can see the grids, their grids properly. reflecting on both sides, the Dynamo environment and the Revit environment. So let me just change this to, let's say 1. Let's see. I hope that they'll be more refined. Okay, so here it's just moving a little bit up. So yeah, that's okay. So now what else? I like to, there are some lists. So a list is this. So if I come over here and move my cursor over to, let's say, this outer part, and I click once, I'm able to see each point onto basically the projection of each point, each line and point on my face. So I'd want to manage this list. So I'd want to, there, at times when you're doing lists, there are some lists that aren't nested properly. So I'll have to manage these lists in a way that I can be able to do my geometry creation perfectly and without any errors. So the first thing that I'd want to do is basically add a list flatten. So I'd want to do a flatten here. And with my flatten, I'd like to attach it with the panel points. So you can see in a very short time, I'm coming up with some form of geometry. And once I do that, I can also do the same thing here. I can add an amount. Let's say I add a code block here and I just type in 1. Now I want to do the same thing over to this other end. So at times it's advisable to make sure that you're running as a manual instead of automatic, because it might take a long time to do all this. So let me just take a quick look at what has happened. So you can see here, there's this panel points list. It's no longer there. So I've been able to remove it from with the list flatten node. So now I can go ahead and look for a way to join this list. So what I want to do is I want to do list create. And I can take 2 nodes, 2 inputs. Once I do that, I can do a list combine. So this basically combines different lists. List combine. Don't get it, let me just type in combine. Okay, so now let me look for it here. Okay, so here it is. And now I can join this part here. And the first list I would want to do is this one. The second list, this one. So I have a list combine node, and I can quickly just take a look at what I have. So here it's bringing a null. So let me see what the problem is. Okay. Okay, so let me proceed first. I'll take a note of what's going on. So the next thing I'd want to do is do a list map. Map. So this one. Math map, not math map, but list. Can't get it. List dot. Okay, there it is. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. So we can take this one here and can take another function for flatten and attach these nodes here and attach it to that point. So now what I want to do next is once I have all this, I'd want to add some Revit mass, basically a Revit family onto this project. So what I'll do is I'll have to open another project. So I don't know, let me close one first here. Just a second. So there's some delay in the screen projection. I'm currently in the Revit environment, but my colleague is telling me that you guys are still in the Dynamo environment. So bear with me. We'll move swiftly through the whole process. Just a second. Let me make sure you're able to see that. So it's not changing still. Okay. Okay, let's just go ahead and open the project that I wanted to open. So now, once you do that, you'll have to, there's an object here that I created. So let me just open this Revit mass. So here I have a Revit family. I'd want to load it into my model. So first things first, I'll just click load into project. Give it some time, it will load into my Revit environment. So now it's already there. No need to place it. I can just click escape. So since it's already in my Revit environment, I can click component and we'll be able to see it. So it's a solar frame panel. So now what I want to do is add this solar frame panel on my roof using Dynamo. So now I'll go to the Dynamo environment here. And what I want to do is look for it. So I need a family type. So I'll just type in family type. So family types, I can easily click this drop down arrow and I can be able to look for it. So the type of family that I want to place there, it's let me just look for the name. So it starts with an S. So it's solar. Okay, so solar 3. And just move the node somewhere else. And now what I want to do is, this is an adaptive component. In the Revit environment, it's identified as an adaptive component. So I'd like this solar family type to adjust with my Revit family environment, adaptive environment. So I'd say adaptive adaptive component. Adaptive components by points. Yeah, this one is okay. So I'll connect the points. The points are on my list map. So let me try that and connect it there. So I'd want to click run. Once I do that, so give it some time. Okay, so now it's bringing an error. Let's see why is that. Okay, it's because my model deselected itself, so I can again select it. Let me just do that quickly, then go back to the Dynamo environment and then click run again. Let's wait for it. Okay, so now we are back. If I check in my Revit environment, I can see that it's already splitted into the family that I attached it to. So if I move my cursor over it, you can be able to see that. I hope you guys are seeing that on your screens, since there are some delays in projecting that side of the model. Okay, let me make sure you guys are seeing that. Hello. 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 So now, once you have that, you can easily. Okay, guys, give me a second. There's some technical issue. I'll be right back in the next a minute, just to check whether you guys are able to see everything. Okay, so everything is clear. I'm being told everything is okay. So yeah, let's just proceed. So now, once you do that, you can be able to do quite a number of things from solar analysis. So I don't know if you'll be able to cover that today, but still you can be able to do your solar analysis with Dynamo. You can add some with custom-made nodes. You can add contextual, like if you have a topography and the buildings and everything, you can add all that into your Revit model. So I think up to that point, we are okay. So you can see that you can manipulate. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Where is it? Okay, so you can see, as I was saying, that you can manipulate data in whichever way that you want, and you can come up with different design options. So that being clear, I can show you some examples. They're not really practical, but it's just an overview of to what extent you can go with Dynamo. So here, I'll open a new file. So let me just open. Do I really want to make changes? No, let me not save it for now. You already have it somewhere. So let me move over to the desktop and so this is some node geometry, some Dynamo graph that I had created. So here you can see that it just needs a geometry that I can click on. So with this one, I'll have to simply, let me open a new project quickly so that you can see the practical use of that. So project. Okay, let me not open a project. Let me open a new conceptual mass environment, symmetric mass. And I can take whichever face that I'd like to create my model from. So let's say this face. And I do a simple model. So let's say I have that, and I move over to the Manage tab. So Dynamo, it's already open. If I check here, it's it's notifying me that it's in the wrong environment. So I'd first close it. So share. Where is it? Okay, so share. Okay, yeah. So we are back. So quickly do this. I'm almost closing, so I have around 10 minutes to do that. So again, I'll simply open it. And I click select, and I can simply select on my model. And once I click run, just let's take a look at what will happen. I hope it works. At times with these softwares, when people are looking, it doesn't work, but so let's just wait for it and see what it will generate. So it's running in the background. So this is just an example that I was doing during my free time. It's coming up with this form of geometries is quite easy once you get to understand how Dynamo works. So for me, I've been using it for around 2 years now. So I'm hoping guys will also join me in this cool adventure. So if you want training, you can just contact us for that. It's most people know Dynamo for automation, but I usually use it for geometry modeling also a lot, quite a lot. So let's just give it some time. So bear with me. It will eventually open. Okay, so this is the kind of geometry that I was trying to open. So you can create complex, this is basically a dome structure. So you can create such kind of geometry. So quite a number of things that you can do with it. So I'll quickly just finish up. Another one is this one here. Okay. So this one, yesterday during my free time, I was trying to create a flower with Dynamo. So you can see, you can be able to create really complex geometries with it. So these are just some practical examples that I was trying to achieve with it. But your creativity is not limited. You can come up with any design patterns that you want to achieve with it. You can also use it for automation of repetitive tasks. So it depends with you. Just try it out. It's already in the Revit environment. It's already loaded in the Revit environment. So you can try it out, see what you can achieve with it. If you come across something good, you can just take a picture, send it to me so that I can see what guys are working on. So without further ado, I'd like to thank you for attending the webinar. If it wasn't for your attendance, this webinar wouldn't be possible. So there are some upcoming webinars, also free ones and also paid ones that we are posting in a few. So keep a lookout for that. For trainings, I'll be sending you an email in regards to that. I'll also be sending an email for this pre-recording for this webinar. So keep in touch. If you need anything, just let us know. So you can reach us through www at .hicad.co.ke. That's our website. My email address is robin@hicad.co.ke. So yeah, stay safe and see you another time. So do you guys have any questions? This is Q&A time. You can take your time to just write down some of the issues that you've had, or basically type in whatever thing that you'd really like to know about Dynamo and automation of repetitive tasks. So today I wasn't able to cover on the Dynamo player, but we'll do that on another session. So this is, I can call this series 1, episode 1. So on another video, I'll be able to demonstrate that, some examples of that, and you guys can just let us know what you want to really learn with it. So any questions? Okay, so now I think we can end this session if you guys don't have any questions. Check your emails for the recordings. If you guys are interested again in training, just get in touch with us. So I think the session is done today. So here there is a question: is it possible for you to share your model / export to another software? Yes, it's very possible, but first you'll have to make sure that the Dynamo version that you're using is the same one. So if you're using Dynamo 2.2, let's say, and I'm using 2.5, I won't be able to send any project onto your the Dynamo version that you have. So you have to make it the same. So if there aren't any other questions, I think I'll end the session now. Then if some of you haven't really figured out what they like to ask, you can just send us an email. I'll be able to answer your questions. So goodbye, everyone.